Welcome to the Evans Legacy Financial Podcast, where real people have real conversations about money, mindset, and making moves. I'm your host, Jake Evans, and this show isn't about fluff or hype. It's about educating our community, sharing stories, and giving you the tools to make better decisions in business and in life. Let's dive in. Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to the Evans Legacy Financial Podcast. It's been a while since I've been doing this. We took a little bit of a break and we're back, but I'm excited today to have a very good friend of mine and I look at as a mentor, Carlos Anzures. Carlos, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show today. I'm honored to have you here. So welcome. Thank you. Your story, we're just gonna dive right in. And your story begins as a young boy brought to the country on faith and sacrifice, and it grows into a life of discipline, purpose, and impact. Let's start at the beginning. You know, you came here at 5 years old. What do you remember about those early years?
Yeah, I just remember growing up. I remember growing up when I was as early as I can remember. I remember talking to, she was my grandma at the time. I don't know if she was my mom. It's the earliest memories that I remember. And as I get a little older, I asked my grandma, I was like, where's my mom? Where's my dad? Like, where's my family? And she told me that she was my dad, she was my mom, she was my grandpa, my grandma. And then she told me at a very young age that that was it. She was the only family, that she was everything to me. And I think that's where it all started, the journey at a young age, knowing that it was just, I was alone, basically. And then later on, when I turned, I turned 5, I met my mom for the first time. And apparently my mom came to the United States maybe 2 years prior, maybe when I was 3. She came here to like establish herself here, trying to get a home, trying to get a job, trying to get together. And then she went back to get me. So my earliest memory wasn't even my mom, it was my grandma. And at a young age, I knew that it was just us. And so that's where it all started for me right there. And then my mom came back to Mexico. She already had a job already set up here. She already had an apartment in the United States, and she went to get me. And then I remember her always dropping me off at different homes because she had to work. It was just me and her. I was raised by a single mom. And so every time she had to go to work, she had to drop me off in different schools. So I went to about five school districts in a matter of about 5-7 years, just going to different school districts. But I think that's where it all started for me, just knowing that I had to basically, it was just us. It was just
Right.
us. And so but anyways, that's my earliest memory of my mom, pick me up when I was 5, bringing me to the United States.
Okay, then that kind of leads into, you're single mom, struggling, trying to get things, risked everything to give you an opportunity or to give your family an opportunity. So what did that teach you about hard work and responsibility at 5 years old, even?
Yeah, I mean, and so I just saw my mom I seen my mom basically just working, trying to make ends meet. She would pay my babysitters. I would go to different school districts. And at a young age, I saw hard work, but I wasn't really like, I figured like, man, that's gonna be like, she instilled hard work in me. She always told me work really hard. She gave me a really strong work ethic. And that's where I get my work ethic, from seeing my mom just really grind it out and do whatever it takes to make ends meet and to pay my babysitters. And I seen her when she would go, and sometimes she wouldn't even pick me up. She would just tell the babysitter, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and pay you because I can't pick them up because I have an early shift I have to take. So sometimes I wouldn't see my mom for days, but I seen her work really, really hard. And I kind of resorted to education. I'm just like, oh, you know what? Maybe education is my way out. At a young age, I was already thinking, I have to find a better way. And so I kind of resorted into education, believe it or not. Right. So I was a straight A student growing up. I was a straight A student. I went to Scholastic. I was a Scholastic Olympic champions. I was a chess champion. I resorted to education, and which led me into, I was always favored by the teachers. The teachers always loved me. I always have this sense of humor and charisma. I always saw the positivity in life, even at a young age. Even though inside of me I was hurting, I probably went through some trauma when I was young. just because I was raised by my grandma and then raised by my mom. I didn't have the best stable life. And so internally, I think all that stuff was inside of me. But the outside, I always smiled. I always stayed charismatic. I always stayed positive. But I knew deep inside of me, I was scared because
So,
I wanted a better life for me and my mom.
right. So I'm, from what I'm hearing is she taught you about hard work and responsibility, and you use, instead of going out and playing and doing stuff, you went and you became inward and decided that you were going to learn and be just as hard of a worker as mom was, right? That's what I'm hearing. And you, like you said, you resorted to education. So when did you first understand that she had risked everything to give you this opportunity? When did you first understand? I mean, at 5, it's kind of hard to understand it, but when did you see that picture and just like, boom, it's like, wow, she
Well,
risked everything.
well, when I got a little older and when I realized I was probably maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, when I realized when I got older to understand what was going on and to understand what it takes for an immigrant to come to the United States, whatever they have, what they have to do to get to the United States, just to get an opportunity. Success is not guaranteed at all. It's just an opportunity. And I heard as an adult, and by the way, me and my mom were 14 years apart. So think about it. I was 5 years old. My mom was a 19-year-old young woman at the time. We're 14 years apart. She had me when she was 14. So you can understand she was 19 at the time.
So you
I'm
guys were
five.
friends too.
Yeah, we kind of grew up together.
You guys, yeah, because I can see that you guys grew up to, wow, okay.
Yeah, so when I realized through other conversations, through other people saying what it takes for an immigrant to come to the United States, to be able to just have an opportunity. And then I realized what we had to go through the process. I realized that she risked her life. She actually risked my life with her, to be honest with you. And then at that point, I realized like I can't take this opportunity for granted. My mom risked her life and my life for an opportunity. And at that very moment, I think I was about 8, 9 years old. I made a decision that I was gonna figure it out and I was gonna win big at a young age.
Yeah.
Because
So
Jake, a lot of us say, I hear a lot of people saying, I want to work really hard for my mom. I want to retire my parents. I think people just say that because I think it just sounds good, but I don't think that's their real why. Because
yeah,
their actions and their words don't correlate with each other.
the feet
And
don't
so,
match the words.
right. And so I really meant it. And it's not because I wanted to say it that I was going to change my life. I'm like, Mom, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do this. And I wasn't just saying it because just to say it. It's because I had no choice. I felt like this is our way out. Even though we are in the United States, I knew there was an opportunity here because I saw what the United States offered. I seen people driving nice cars and nice houses. I seen people going to church with their family. So I wanted that deep inside of me. I'm like, I want a family. I want to have that one day. And so I didn't know. I was too young to work and get a job anywhere. So I figured like, well, you know what? If I just there was a poster when I was a young kid, Jake. Maybe you remember it. There was a poster, and I remember fascinating over it. It was a poster, and I looked at it, and it said there was a Lamborghini, there was a Ferrari, and there was like a Porsche up in a house, up in a mansion, and it said on the poster, "Justification for a higher education." And when I
I've
saw
seen
that,
that. I do remember
that
that.
was just, I go, that's my way out right there. I'm 8 years old. I saw this poster, and I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I'm going to do. And that's why I resorted towards education. At the time, this is before everything changed for me as an entrepreneur, but that's where it all started for me, Jake.
Well, so you've shared the part about you made a decision, you wanted to do something big. Now, and you kind of I want to go a little deeper on where did that decision really come from? You said I'm going to make it big. And you've kind of alluded to it, but I wanted to dig a little deeper about where that decision came from.
Well, one of the things I remember as I was growing up, I knew we were broke. I know we had very limited resources, and I saw my mom putting groceries back when we used to go shopping. And at the time, I just thought, oh, she doesn't want those items. Then I got a little older to realize that we're broke, and I just hated this feeling of lack because I came from a country of lack. I grew up poor. I grew up in I no there was no floors. There was dirt floors in Mexico. I grew up poor and I came to the United States. And yes, compared to Mexico, it's awesome. But I also knew there was opportunity, and I knew that my mom putting groceries back because she had a limited budget. And I at first she was like, okay, maybe she doesn't like this cornflakes or she doesn't like this milk, maybe it's too much milk. I didn't know. And then
Right.
realized and then I realized that we were broke. I remember my mom scratching for change one time and I looked and I was about 8 years old and I said, man, this it's gotta I gotta do something about it. And and then when I saw that poster when I was in school, they would put it on there. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's my way out. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a dad. I didn't have any uncles. I didn't have anybody like that. So that was my first maybe vision or thought process of that my life can change and that I can have success. And so that's what I resorted to. I resorted towards that. That's where I made the decision. I believe that's where I made it because I think I made little decisions. But that's when I remember the most that was the clearer to me. It was so clear to me that when I saw my mom putting groceries back, I said, okay, this is it. I got to make a difference. And that's when I believe I made a decision.
So that decision, how did that decision shape the way you approached in the future opportunity and risk?
Yeah, moving forward, it just like, I didn't, I was going through college. I was going to go to Stanford University. I was a straight A student. I had all this opportunity. And I remember I was about, I don't know, 16 years old. I turned old enough to work. And my mom sits me down and tells me, you need to, by the way, at this time, my mom had got remarried. My mom had got remarried. Me and my stepdad didn't have a really good relationship. We do now, but we didn't at the time because I wasn't a son. And it was an awkward relationship. But my mom sat me down and told me, hey, you're 16 years old. I need you to get a job. By the way, my stepdad would take me when I was a little younger to go work in hard labor out in the, agriculture in the fields out there. I remember working really hard labor and during the summers. And the summers were like, everybody would write, like, I went to Disneyland. I got a bike for my birthday. Christmas was awesome. The vacation times were the worst for me.
Hmm.
Even to this day, I subconsciously holidays is not period my favorite time, believe it or not, which is crazy. It's because when I grew up, holidays were when they took me to go work. Hard labor. I was 12, 13, 14 years old, all the way to 16 years old. And I remember working really hard labor. And I remember going back to school in September. Back then it was September. I think they go to school early now. They go to school back in August or something like that.
Mhm.
And I remember them writing an essay and they said, hey, write, how was your summer? And I just didn't want to write. I didn't want to write anything. And my
You know,
teacher
you
was saying,
you and I are a lot alike in that way. I mean, different traumatic experiences shape the way, even today, I'm like anti, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all that. I'm like, because where I was at, I missed them. I didn't get to experience them. So I want to just be, and move forward. And we have a similar shape that way of let's just move forward. So I get it, man. I get it. That's powerful.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And so so I started working really, really hard and I turned 16. My mom sat me down and she told me, you got to get a job. We got to make ends meet because my stepdad at the time didn't have a really good job. I mean, it's minimum wage. I think minimum wage at the time was 365 or something like that, and then it went up to 425, and then it went to like 520. He was always minimum wage, and so it just wasn't enough. And so I ended up getting a job from the school program.
okay.
They threw me in as a custodian cleaning up rooms, and it was crazy
And
because
how old were you? How old were you
I
then?
was 16. I was 16 years
16.
old. I was 16 years old. I got a job through the school. They threw me as the school district custodian. I was an assistant to the assistant of the assistant, right? So I was, and
You were the
so
grunt of the grunt.
oh yeah, I was. And I remember it was a very good lesson for me though, because I used to put gum under the desk all the time. And I used to be the guy who used to throw trash and not clean it up. And man, it was an awesome experience. At that time, I was like, dude, I would never put gum. I would pick up garbage and then I would always look up I used to tell custodians, hey, thank you for what you do. Even to this day, I respect a lot of them because I know what
You,
the hard work they do.
you know something, I'm going to say that I've been in those situations too, where I get to experience the effect of my actions the butterfly effect, the effect of my actions have on others around me. So today I get to make different, that helps us to make different decisions on what we're doing. Like you said, now you see something, you want to pick it up, or you don't throw trash out. Or, I get that thing where I get that urge to throw something out the window in the car. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that because it's not the right thing to do. Plus, somebody's got to pick that up. And it
Yeah.
ain't I'm not going to do it. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And so at the time I was working, I was going to school, and basically I remember my senior year, the year that so I was one of those children that turned 18 when they were still in high school. I don't know, some are 17 and they were seniors. I was an 18-year-old senior. And I remember turning 18 when I was my senior year. And I remember my mom told me, hey, now that you're 18, you can get a real job. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is my senior year. This is where I make a difference. This is where, remember, I'm going back to I'm resorting back to my way out when I was a child, saying education is my way out. And
Right.
that dream was stolen away from me. It really was. My mom indirectly did it. My stepdad didn't support me. And at that time, I just said, I'm just going to get a job. I'm just going to work. And I didn't go to college, by the way, because of that. I ended up just basically getting a job at a meat department. I started in the grocery business. And that's how I started. I started in the grocery business. And they threw me, because I was 18, they threw me straight into the meat department. I was just 18 years old when that happened. And once again, my mom did that because my mom was just taught that hard work was the way out. She thought
Yeah.
that was it.
And that
I
goes
saw.
back to the earlier part of this is, what did you first understand about how she had risked everything for opportunity? And what did she teach you about hard work? And this is it right here. This is
Yeah,
it. This is what you learn. This is the lesson learned.
yeah, yeah. And so I ended up getting a job at a grocery store, and that was it. Now I worked there for about 10 years at a grocery store, and I made it to upper management. And then I was the guy, it was pretty crazy because I was the guy, I eventually going into my 9th, 10th year, I was the guy that was opening new stores for this huge chain grocery store. And I was the guy that was training the new people coming in, basically how to get them to their apprenticeship and then become journeymen, just like I was, into cut, we're meat cutters. And so we had to make them into journeymen, and we will get them from scratch. They wouldn't want to hire a journeyman because back then you would have to pay them almost like union wages, and they didn't want to do that. So they will hire these young guys, 19, 20, 21, and then I will be the guy teaching them basically not to cut their fingers off, right? I would just teach them like how to do the knife, how to use the saw, like how to use the machinery and stuff like that. And so I was so good at it. I had this natural gift of training people, and educating them, that they made me the guy that will be, and I was single at the time. I'm in my 20s, right? And I was the guy that was traveling all the time to different stores, and I was very successful at it. I made it to the top of the company. And I remember one day, they told me that if I keep up the good work, and this is why I kept doing what I was doing. I should have got
So
another grocery.
I want you to keep going there, but I have a thought I'd like to throw in here. Okay,
Sure,
so
go
you
for it.
said you did this. You didn't go to school, right? Your passion was to go to school, but you weren't able to do that. You were taught hard work, and you did that, and you were in this for 10 years. During that 10, I'm trying to make a point here. During that 10 years, did you ever just want to say, "The heck with this? I want out. I just don't." But you stuck with it. Was there ever a point there where you just didn't want to do it anymore, but you knew you had to keep going for survival and for opportunity and for future?
Absolutely, because at the time I was still living at home.
Okay.
And I remember my mom telling me like, "Hey, this is not a hotel. This is we have living expenses. We don't live for free." And so she kind of forced me into the whole working thing and stuff like that. And I remember going to work during the 10 years. And the reason why I made it up to the top of the company at the time, some of the guys, my peers next to me were like, "You need to slow down, man. You're making me look bad. You're making everybody look bad." Right. And I was like, "Well, isn't it the way you're supposed to do it?" Like, because that's my mom told me that. Go work, go do this. And you know what I mean? Which was crazy at the time, Jake. I didn't even realize it, that I was working 10 times harder than the guy next to me, and the guy was still taking the same paycheck. Isn't that crazy? At a job, you work just as hard as the guy next to you or harder, but the guy takes the same paycheck. And I didn't realize it at the time. I was just so focused on like, I got to work, got to get my paycheck, I got to do this, I got to do that. And so kind of like I said, well, education's out the table. I guess this is the way out, right? This is my way out. Work really, really hard. And I didn't connect that hard work wasn't the complete, it's part of it, but it wasn't the complete answer to
Well,
success at the time.
it's just like college education. Okay. And I look at it like this. That's why I tell people, I say, college education, your general ed, are you going to use 90% of it? No. But you know what general education's for? The whole package is for a discipline. You're
Yes.
going to school. It's just like you're working full time. So these guys that are out there busting it like you were and like I was, we're going to school at that time because we're learning a discipline of getting up at 5 a.m. and going to bed at 9 p.m. and working 10 hours a day and just and moving forward and focusing on the classes or the job, and you have the same mindset. I think that I try to talk about is if you're making $10 an hour and you want $20 an hour, give them $20 an hour worth of work. That's the bottom line
Absolutely.
right there. And I think that's what you were doing. You were looking at a future. You were looking at, I'm just doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
One of the things,
I want to
go
go.
ahead.
No, go ahead with your point. You were making a point. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. I was one of the things that kept me going. You told me if I wanted to get out. Yes, I wanted to get out, but I just didn't know how. Like I
Okay.
wanted to go out, I didn't know how, so I figure I'm going to stick to this. One of the things that really, really, really kept me there for 10 years, from 18 to 28, was they told me if I work really, really hard, this is a company telling me this, that one day I'm going to be able to run my own store. And at the time, people that run their own store have the nicest cars. And I'm like, man, I can be in my 20s and I can make 100,000 a year. I can make 80,000 a year. At the time, that's equivalent to probably, I don't know, 160 or 150 nowadays, which, that's how much money you need to buy a nice house. That's probably the household, it's a good wages. And I was just thinking like, wow, this is it right here. This is, if I keep doing what they're telling me to do, and I keep working as hard as they tell me I have to keep working. One day I'm going to get this, I'm going to run my own store. I don't have to be traveling anymore, training a bunch of, because I was the expansion guy. I was the expansion guy. That was my job. And I figured like one day I'm gonna get situated, I'm gonna live in one city, I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have kids. And so that was my way. That's why I stuck around so long in the grocery business and the meat department, because I figured that one day I'm gonna get established, I'm gonna be in my 20s and I'm gonna get it together and buy a house and stuff like that. So that's why. You know what I mean?
So that was your why at the time. So then you're moving on. You're doing what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you get this idea, or I want to because right now you're in the financial services industry. Where's that transition? Talk to me about becoming an entrepreneur and working for yourself. I know it didn't happen overnight because it never does, but how did you get into this?
Yeah, so what happened is I remember in the grocery business, I have a meeting. They call me upstairs. That was where the conference room was at. So they call me up there and everything, and I'm like, oh man, this is it. They're calling me to because they had a new location that were opening. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And it was crazy because the location where that store was gonna be at, I had a girlfriend at the time that I was dating that was in the same city. And I go, this is it. I have a girlfriend in the city, the store's opening there, nothing happens, everything happens for a reason. This is it, right? I'm connecting the dots. I go up there and have the meeting and they said, hey, we just want to let you know that we decided. And I was like, give it to me, tell me this is it right here. That we're not going to give you the store after all. We're going to, and I
Oh,
said, what do you mean? They said, we're not going to give it to you after all. The son of the owner decided that he wants that store because it's closer to his home. And I just said, well, what do you mean? I mean, I've been working with you guys all these years. And they said that, I said, well, maybe then they said, they didn't even say you'll get the next one. They go, maybe the next one. And at that very moment, I went back at the meat department and I was one of my buddies there. We were both managers. And I said, hey, why don't we open up a business? And
okay.
he said, well, we already have jobs. And I'm like, no, no, no. I said, I don't know if you know what just happened to me. That's going to happen to you. If they did it to me, they're gonna do it to you. They're gonna do it to everybody. I said, we got to find another way out. And he goes, well, we will have meat department experience. We have restaurant. He had a restaurant experience. So check this out, Jake. Maybe you don't know this, but I was one of the first guys. This is many years ago that started a taqueria inside gas stations. So
No way.
yes, I was one of the first
So
ones.
that's your groundwork for your entrepreneurship.
That was it right there. I was it. I went in there. I negotiated with the guy. I told him that I wasn't going to sell any drinks, that they had to get all their fountain drinks. The guy was telling me that every 44 ounces that he would sell, he sells
Right.
them for like $1 or 89 cents. He says the cost for him was like 4 to 6 cents. He had massive profit margins on
Oh
this.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so he was just telling me. And so, anyways, we ended up opening up a restaurant. My mom at the time, I called my mom because she was the greatest cook I knew. And I go, Mom, I need you to, cook for us. And I opened this little restaurant and I invested some money. And she's like, oh, mijo means son in Spanish. And she goes, okay. And so we started doing that. So me and my buddy were doing that. So we were working at the meat department and we had this side gig. This is our first year. I don't know if you guys know about business, but anybody who knows about business, it's your first 1 to 3 years. They make or break you. So my first year, I was breaking even, which is in the restaurant business is crazy. I knew all about margins because I was the manager. I knew how to do
Right.
all that. I knew invoicing. I was a meat buyer at the time, so I knew where to get the wholesale pricing. I knew how to become profitable, just not my first year. I wasn't profitable my first year. I was kind of breaking even. And here we go. A year later, I get a call again upstairs again. So I go upstairs, and this time they call my buddy of mine that works for me. We're both managers. We're both running the meat department. They call us both upstairs, and they have a meeting with us. And they say, "Hey guys," and I was like, "Well, that's not good." They called both of us over here. Basically, they told us, "Hey, we found out that you guys have a business outside of what you guys do here, and we're not gonna tell you guys what to do. You guys get to decide, but you need to decide right now if you're gonna keep your job or if you're gonna run your business. But you can't do both." And I said, "Why not?" He goes, "Because it's conflict of interest.
Wow.
You're a meat buyer buying for us, but you're buying it for your restaurant. It doesn't look good. I'm sorry. We had a lot of complaints. So what happened? A lot of people in the store. It was a big box store. Apparently, were hating on us because we're starting to gain some kind of success, and they kind of knew that was going to be our way out, and they were going to be stuck where they're at. And it reminds me of the crab effect. You know, the crab in a big bucket. The one's coming out, one grabs them and throws them back, and so it felt like that at the time. And so my buddy right away said, he looked at me, he goes, I got a baby on the way. I just bought a home. He told the guy, um, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to let go of that. And then he looked at me and he said, you can do whatever you want. At the time, my buddy told me that. I never saw fear in his life. He was fearing for his job. And I was like, at the time I was living at home and I was like, well, I can take a risk or I can just, not, anyway, I told him, can I get back to you by the end of the day? And he said, yeah. So I really put a lot of thought to it. I called my mom. My mom goes, well, you're gonna have to stick with your job, because that's what's paying you guaranteed money. And the business is awesome, but it's not paying your bills. And so I went back and I ended up selling whatever I paid for I didn't make any profit on it. I sold the business for whatever I bought everything I bought it. I sold it. And at that very moment, Jake, to answer your question of how I ended up becoming an entrepreneur, my dream was stolen again. And I just felt like I hit rock bottom and I just felt like something in my spirit, like somebody took a piece of my soul. And I looked at my friend and I go, I'm going to find a way out. I said, you can stay here, but I'm going to find a way out. And he said, man, shut up. You're crazy. Just get to work. It's going to work out. And I'm like, no. And so I was still working little by little. I wasn't the company guy that I was anymore. I wasn't the guy that was clock out and worked in my shifts. I wasn't taking people's days off. I wasn't working through weekends. I wasn't doing above and beyond. I wasn't doing the things that got me to that level anymore because I had lost my passion for what I was doing. And at the time, I heard of a buddy. I'm hanging out with some friends, and I'm hearing one of my buddies. They go, "Hey, remember your buddy so and so?" Well, yeah. What about him? I haven't seen him for years. He goes, "I heard he's into real estate. He's making 25,000 a month. He's got a Corvette. He's got all this." And I'm like, "No."
Huh.
Sure enough, I give him a call. And I said, hey man, I heard you're up to new good things. What are you up to? And he goes, Carlos, you will do great in my business. You have a get the gab, you're passionate. And I'm like, man, I don't, how do you get paid? And he said commission. It scared the hell out of me, right? I'm a commission. He said, yeah. But then I had opened a business. So kind of like, okay, how does it work? He goes, well, if you work hard, you get paid. You don't work hard, you don't get paid. And I was like, oh, it's almost like my restaurant. I got customers, I get paid. I don't have customers, I don't get paid. I get it. He goes, well, you're in luck if you wanna get into the industry. And I said, sure. He goes, I'm gonna quit my job. And he goes, well, he never told me I wasn't gonna get paid for a long time. He just told me, whatever. I go, did you save some money? I'm like, yeah, I got a couple of checks. I wouldn't cash my checks. It's the way Mexicans save money, by the way. We didn't have bank accounts. What
No
we do
cash the
is,
check. Yeah.
yeah, we just stacked up our checks. I had a stack of checks. I had maybe like 4 or 5 checks. It wasn't a lot. And he goes, you haven't, I go, I got checks stacked up. I haven't cashed them yet. He goes, well, don't spend them anytime soon. So I went back. I went to go see his office. Sure enough, the guy had a Corvette. He had an Avalanche, brand new Avalanche. I remember his childhood girlfriend. And some girl went up to him in the office and kissed him. And I looked at him and I go, oh man, don't tell me you're not with Sandra anymore. You guys, he goes, what are you talking about? That's her. And I'm like, what do you mean that's her? He goes, I upgraded her. I was like, I didn't even recognize her. Had a lip job and, augmentation this, augmentation that. And I was like, wow. And that's when I was introduced to the real estate mortgage business. And my friend was doing extremely well. And then I told myself, well, he can do it. I can do it. And so sure enough, I ended up quitting my job. Um, I just quit. I didn't need a 2 week notice. I remember they calling me and say, hey, you didn't give your 2 week notice. And I go, are you going to give me a 2 week notice when you fire me?
Hmm.
And he goes, well, don't you need a letter of recommendation? I go, I will never need one. I will never need one.
I'm
And I
not
never
cutting
did.
meat anymore.
No, that was it. And I think about it. Thank God I never cut my fingers. I don't have a memory of that. I don't even, it's over. It's a chapter that was closed. It was there for a reason. And that's how I got into real estate because my buddy that was doing well.
So you jump into real estate. You do it for what? How old are you at this point?
I'm 29 years old,
29. Okay,
about
so
to turn 30.
29, 30. You're on the road to being a successful entrepreneur. You really are a successful entrepreneur because you open and closed a business. You've made the decision already that you're going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to find out how to do it. I'm going to make it work. So what do you think made that difference for you in being able to say, I'm done. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. What may helped you make that decision?
Well, not to get religious on you guys, and I started to go to church after I felt like when I felt that my company let me down, I just felt like all my life, like it just didn't feel like, man, I was didn't have a mom and I didn't have my mom and dad. I got my mom. I just started going back. I started reflecting on my life. I didn't I didn't get my education I wanted to. That opportunity was taken away from me. I felt like my dream was stolen. Then I'm here at a job doing everything they asked me to do. I feel like my dream was stolen. And I resorted to going out, partying, experimenting out there as a young in my 20s, roaring. I call them the roaring 20s. I was
Roaring
out there,
20s.
experimenting and stuff like that. And I just start feeling this void, like just like this void out there. And this guy, I go, man, it's gotta be. I started questioning life, Jake, to be honest with you. I'm like, there's gotta be something better than this. This can't be it. And so I started going to church. And the reason I went to church, and I'll tell you a quick story, some girl in the bakery in the meat department, right, I was trying to hit on her. And I told her, hey, I want to take you out, this and that. And she told me, sure, if you go to church with me. And I was like, what? What do you mean go to church? You know what I mean? What do you mean go to
That's
church,
funny.
right?
That's funny.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to church. And so I went to church with her thinking after church, I was waiting for I wasn't even listening to the pastor at the time. I was like, man, I can't wait till this is over. I'm going to take her on a date. And I'm sitting there and something happened. I don't know what happened that day, but something changed inside of me. And so when we left the next day, she would tell me like, okay, what do you want? Now that you go to church with me, when do you want to, and I say, look, I'm not your guy. I'm like, I'm not serious. I told her, I'm not serious. I'm not your guy. You deserve somebody better. And I just don't want to do that to you. But I stopped talking to her because I was not up to no good. But at that very moment, the whole church thing, I started like, well, maybe I'll try it out. You know what I mean? And I started going to church and stuff. So here I am. I made a transition. When I called the guy, my buddy, and I asked him, what is the name of the company that you work with? He told me Santa Fe Mortgage. He said Santa Fe. Santa Fe is holy faith if you translate it.
Wow.
Santa
Okay.
Fe means holy faith.
Okay.
And I said, wow, if this is not God talking to me, I don't know who is talking to me. And so when I went in there like, I can do this. God's talking to me. And then the second thing that made me feel that I can be successful was my buddy. I go, my buddy can do it. And my buddy didn't have the same work ethic that I did, Jake. And I was like, this guy always tried to look for the easy way out all his life. And now he's making all this money, right? Now his life has changed. He's got all these houses. He upgraded his girlfriend, right? And I'm like, I don't have a girlfriend. Like, I just like, you know what I mean? I want to, I can do this. If he can do it, I can do it. So what made me believe that I can do it was Santa Fe. I believe at the time God was talking to me. Okay. And then two, I saw one of my buddies doing it and I figured, well, this is it. I know I can do it. And so that's one of the first belief level that I can do it. I already had made the decision that I was going to make it work no matter what at that very moment.
Okay. So now you're, you're in the real estate industry. How long do you stay in the real estate industry?
Well, I
Well,
was
you're kind of
in the
still
real
there. So you're kind of
Yeah,
still
I'm
in
still
the
kind of
real
involved
estate. It's kind
indirectly.
of
Yeah.
a duality here.
Yeah. I did real estate. I struggled my first year. I struggled,
That's
but
common
yeah, I
business.
struggled my first year, so success didn't happen. My second year, I made over $250,000 my second year. And I never made less than that. And that was many years ago, by the way. That was like 19 years ago. Um, and when I made $250,000, I said, wow, if I can make 250,000, I kind of challenged myself. I wanted to see, I always wanted to meet the ultimate me. Even to this day, I'm still in the journey to meet the ultimate Carlos Anzures. I want to know who God created it to be. I don't want to die one day and know that, hey, Carlos, I created you, gave you these talents and these gifts and this to be this, but you only want this. And so I always want to challenge myself to meet the ultimate me. So at that very moment, I'm like, you know what? If I can make 250,000, then I can make 500,000. I know I can do it. Right. And so at that very moment, I was doing mortgages. I got into real estate and I was being very successful at it. I became a broker because I figured the people that I met that were doing extremely well were brokers. They had teams, they had offices, they were entrepreneurs. And I'm like, I want that. And so I couldn't do that without a broker license. So I went to go get my broker license. And then I became a broker and guess what? I started doing what I do best was hiring and training people. I did it for a grocery store. I can do it here, just in a different industry. And I started growing my team little by little, little by little. I started growing my real estate team. I started growing my mortgage team. And I started just leaning on my own gifts and strengths. What I got passionate in for me was educating and training and helping others. And that's what got me into the real estate, becoming successful, made multiple six figures there. And then one day I was introduced. I remember one of my loan officers called me one day, and she was in my San Jose, Silicon Valley location because I had multiple offices at the time. Jake, I got to the point where I started expanding. I'm just
Mhm.
this expansion guy all the time. And she calls me up and she tells me, what do you do with all your money? Just ask me that question. And I'm like, spend it. Like, what else? What are you supposed to
What
do with your
else? What
money?
else you do with it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was the type of guy, Jake, the more you make, the more you spend. I push it to the limits. I have money coming in again, have a business. It doesn't matter if I blow all my money. If I have a 30, $40,000 a month, I'm gonna blow 30, $40,000, right? I mean, that's just nobody educated me on finances. My mom sure didn't. She put all the money on the mattress. And her plan to have more money was to get a bigger mattress. So she didn't know about finances. I didn't know about finances. I just knew how to make money and work really hard. And so she tells me what to do with all your money. And I'm like, I spent it. Come on. What kind of question is that? She goes, I want to go see you. So I went at the time, Polly, because I was so busy, I met with her maybe 3 months later. That's how I booked her like 3 months out. Right. So I booked her. She finally comes. She tells me she's bringing somebody with her. And she sits down and I get my whole office. I go, hey guys, our friend, my friend Liz is coming down and she's gonna write us all up with, some kind of savings plans. And to me, it was a benefit as a broker because as a broker, I had nothing but independent contractors and they weren't employees. So I couldn't offer any retirement benefits to them. So I figured,
Right.
hey, you guys can go in here and get your own retirement set up, right? Because every realtor or mortgage guy, they all have the same retirement plan in their head. They don't say it publicly, but I'll tell you what it is. Their goal is to one day have 5, 10 houses paid off, and then that's their pension. That's
Residual.
their way of residual. That's
Right.
their way of retirement. But they never really get there. You know what I mean? It's just an intention. It's just like a thought process. That's their goal. That's why they work really hard, but they never get there. So that was my kind of goal behind my mind. Like one day I'm going to make up so much money, but I wasn't educated financially. And when I sat there and within a 1 hour time, I learned more about finances from this young man and her about how money works for you and how money works and how taxation and everything. In 1 hour, I was so empowered by it. I was fascinated by it. I go, I'm definitely a client. I definitely have to do this. Thank you so much. I thought I was doing her a favor, but she was doing me a favor at the time. She just changed the way my outlook about life. And I just said, wow. And the guy, go ahead.
So no, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because you've alluded that how you got where you're at. Now you're in financial services. Now you've become part of another team. You're still doing financial, you're still doing real estate, you're still doing loans, you're helping families. And today we're gonna fast forward. Today you've helped thousands of families reach their financial goals. Thousands of families. And I watch you every day. Okay. But so I want to talk about what is that responsibility? We're going to talk about impact. So what does that impact, that responsibility mean to you today from those thousands of families you've helped? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I got into the financial services, became very successful in different states throughout the United States. You fast forward now, my net worth is multiple seven figures now. Um, but I feel like I have a moral obligation to empower people. If a guy that was making X amount of money, that was an entrepreneur in real estate, didn't know anything about estate preservation or how money works for you or how taxation, all the rules of money. The reality is I didn't know. The reason why most people don't win and why I wasn't winning, even I thought I was winning, is because I didn't know the rules of the game. You're not going to win any game if you don't know the rules. And so I didn't know the rules of the money game. My parents didn't know the rules of my peers didn't know. My friends that I was hanging out with, they were making money, they were spending it all. They had no idea. Right. And so I just felt like I had a moral obligation. I go, if a guy like me has no idea how the money works or the rules of money, I can just imagine the rest of America. They probably
So
work really hard. They probably work really hard,
yeah.
right? But they have no idea the rules of the money game.
So that kind of forwards into my next question for you is what do you see families struggling with the most? You've dealt with thousands of families and you've seen that have come on board that have used your services that haven't. And so you've seen maybe more than thousands, hundreds of thousands of families. What do you see families struggling with the most when it comes to money? What's that look like?
Well, it's like this. Well, I believe that every person is it's in three categories when it comes to finances, when it comes to financial education. Either there's the informed, the people that are aware, there's the uninformed and the misinformed. Which one are you? The
That's
informed,
good.
uninformed, and the misinformed. And so every time I meet with somebody, that's what I realized. They lack of awareness, it's maybe misinformation, maybe uninformed. That's what I see all the time. And that's
So,
what I
so
see what people struggle with.
Right. And that's really is in any job that we do. I don't finance, real estate, mortgage. We're not here to sell anything. I learned this early on in my real estate career is we are educators. We educate so they can become the informed. And once they're the informed, they're going to want to do something. They're going to want to move somewhere and do something because they're going to realize that, wow, I haven't been doing what I should be doing. Am I right there?
Absolutely. I always
Yeah.
say confused minds don't make decisions, clear minds do. Once you empower somebody with the information, they will make a decision what's right for them and their family or their business.
So how do
That's
you
just
how do you stay grounded while operating on a national level? How do you what keeps your feet on the ground?
well, this is what I always tell myself. I'm gonna have my head in the clouds, but I'm gonna have my feet in the ground. And so I'm always grounded because I know where I come from.
Oh, right there.
I know
Right
where I
there.
come from. I know what families go through, what people struggles. And here's the reality. The reality is I'm just like everybody else. I was just a young kid with huge aspirations and big dreams and goals. I went through a lot of challenges like everybody else, but I made a decision that I wasn't going to squander the opportunity my mom, gave me by coming to the United States. And I was going to make a difference at a young age. And the journey was not easy. I'm still going
No.
through the journey right now. I'm still on the
Mhm.
journey to meet the ultimate me. My job is, I have a pretty big house, by the way. And the biggest room in my house is the room for improvement, right? And so I'm always constantly just passionate about improving and getting better, meeting the ultimate me. And I know that it's what you know after you think you know it all. It's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes all the difference. And so I'm a student by nature. I'm a student of the game. I just love to learn. I love to be in power. I think information is currency. Information
So
is currency.
right there. I want to add to that. I want to talk to our audience for a little bit about that is that we all some out there, and I think I see where some families are struggling is that I've arrived. I know what I need to do now, and I'm that's where I'm going to stop learning, and that's where I'm just going to live my life and just do. And when we stop, I'm finding, and you're finding that when we stop learning, we stop growing, we stop succeeding, we stop taking the next step, getting and I'm not talking about it being all about more money, more this, more possessions. I'm talking about it being more fulfilled, more helpful. The more we sit and get educated, I believe that we always remain teachable. If we don't remain teachable, we're not going to grow. And I'm seeing that where I mean, I see you every day, and I watch you how you're learning, and I'm the same way. I'm in my 60s, and I'm ready, man. I'm a sponge. Give me. I want to learn. I want to, give me what you got, because I'll take it wherever I can get it. So your desire and determination to change the world sets you apart. Absolutely. I see it. So you kind of already alluded to it, that drive comes from where you came from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how
Absolutely.
do you
Yeah.
balance the ambition with service? So I mean, I'm talking to you here, and you're ambitious. How do you balance that ambition with service?
I believe that, look, they say, they said, I heard a saying or a quote one time. They said the best way to help the poor is not to become one of them. And I just believe that. I believe that if the more impact I want to make in people's lives, I have to get to a position of strength. Because I remember when I was struggling financially, I remember that I will be the guy I wanted to help people, but I will help people from a position of weakness, where sometimes I will put other people's needs before mine, and I will be struggling to pay PG&E or the electric bill or the water bill or the rent, whatever. I would struggle because I would put people's needs first. And so I realized, you know what, if I really want to make an impact, I need to be able to help people through a position of abundance and a position of strength. And so that's why I'm ambitious, because I know that the true impact that the more finances, the more strong, the better position I'm in, the more I'm able to help others. And that's just the
Right.
reality. And so
Right.
that's why I believe I balance it out. Yes, I'm ambitious, yeah, but I do it because for the right reasons. My heart's in the right place, my mind's in the right place. I know ultimately at the end of the day that if I help others go where they want to go, ultimately I'll go where I want to go.
And that's what changing the world actually looks like. That is exactly what changing the world looks like, through the work that you do. That's exactly it. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. I've got a couple other questions. and I want you to speak to my audience, and I want you to educate maybe a little bit of what would you say to someone listening right now who feels behind but knows they're capable of more?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is, just you got to believe. Number one, you got to believe, and it's hard to believe when you're going through struggles or you're going through challenges or whatever you're going through. But I believe that self-talk, like self-talk yourself through it. Like just believe. One of the things, like if you're going through it and you're out there, is learn how to self-talk. And some people they're like, well, I don't want to talk about where I'm going because I'm not there yet. And so I always tell people a dog doesn't chase a parked car. You ever see a dog barking, chasing a parked car? It chases something that's moving. And so I got really good, and you
I
should get
like
really
that.
good. You should get really good about talking about your future. Like I go, like, look, if you bring up your past, you're going to get depressed. By the way, if you right now when you were talking about my childhood, I almost got emotional, Jake. Just knowing where I come from, right? I was almost getting emotional there because when you talk about your past, you get depressed. When you talk about your current situation today, you're frustrated. Every single one of us are frustrated because we want more. We know we're better. We want it to be now. We have that instant mentality. The microwave's too slow for us. Popcorn takes too long, right? And so,
Right.
but the future, nobody can argue with the future. When you think about your future, you get excited. So I'm constantly looking at my future, and I get excited about it. And so you need to get excited about your future. You need to start talking about it. If you're going through tough times right now, this is one of my affirmations that I say. I said, tough people get rich on tough times. Tough people get rich on tough times. And I told myself that maybe a million times, right? Tough people get rich in tough times. And another thing that I tell myself is to every adversity, there's a seed of equal greater benefit. You look for it. To every adversity, there's a seed of equal great benefit if you look for it. And guess what? There's always a reason. When you're going through something or you're going through challenges, take the L. And people say, take the loss. No, no, no. Take the learning lesson. See, when you have a winning mentality, you never lose. You just learn. And so if you're out there and you're struggling, just start with your mindset. You win up here. You win and lose up here. They say that a made up mind is the most powerful thing. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Because it doesn't matter. If you think you can and you think you can't, either way, you're right. And so I learned that. And so I know this is it's up here, right? And being around associations, being around groups, being around positive people, all that helps you out. It helps shape your mentality. It helps shape your vision. It helps stretch your vision. And it kind of defines who you become as a person moving forward, as a leader in the industry, as a husband, as a brother, as a neighbor, as a businesswoman or a businessman. Maybe you're in politics, maybe you're in the medical industry. God has put you in a certain industry for a reason to make a difference and and you have a purpose there. You really do. You got to have a purpose-driven life. I believe that you have to live life in intention. You have to live life. Everything's intentional moving forward.
Absolutely.
And so I,
Absolutely.
I I I believe that if you're going through something right now, it's just take the learning lesson. What are you being taught? What are you being learning? Why is it happening to you? And sometimes the answer doesn't happen right away. What happens is that you look back and you connect the dots. I remember I went through some challenges in my life and I look back, I didn't understand why I was going through them. I kind of learned how to trust the process, right?
Trust
And
the
then
process.
I look back and I was like, that's why this happened. I connected the dots. Why? And sometimes the dots don't get connected right away. But I promise you, if you're looking for the learning lesson in everything that happens, you will find it and you will learn from it and you'll become better from it.
It's funny you said connect the dots. And connect the dots because guess what? Those dots ain't going anywhere. Those dots are going to be there. They're going to connect, but and you said it, trust the process. So what I'm seeing here is these are the kinds of things, it's the things that you just said are what keep you disciplined when motivation fades because you experience motivational fade as well. I'm sure of it because anybody who's
Absolutely.
successful and who is going that fast and that far forward has got to experience some kind of some motivational fade, right? And so always learning when you fall down, pick something useful up, a tool of some sort. You know what I'm saying? So my final question is what do you want your legacy to be for your family, your clients, and for your community? What do you want your legacy, Carlos Anzures, to say to that community that surrounds you?
Yeah, my legacy, basically, I just wanted to look. I want to minister to people, not by the things that I say, but by the life that I lived. And that's what my legacy is. My life is going to be an example to others of what is possible in this world and this opportunity you have. Because if you think about it, if you're in the United States, maybe you're in a different country, but if you're in the United States, you're in the wealthiest country in the world. I'm in California, one of the wealthiest states, right? We like, what are the chances of me going from Mexico to a small city with dirt floors to becoming one United States, two in California, and not only to be in California, but to be in the financial services industry, which is the largest industry in the world. It's just crazy. What are the chances of that? Right. And so my legacy is I want to minister to people, and I want my story, my life to speak volumes to them. Yes, I want to make an impact by the things I say. Maybe what I'm saying today maybe help you an impact, but I want my life to be my biography of my life to my children and my generation to come is what great grandpa Carlos Anzures did in his life. And that's my legacy for me. That and the people that I saw my journey and what I created and the impact that I made and the lives that I changed. That's why my legacy. It's not about having a mansion, having a car. Because I heard something the other day. They said, that house you have, Carlos. I go, you're not. Somebody else is going to live there one day because you're eventually going to die. And I was, your car you have, somebody else is going to drive it. And I was like, you're right. You're right. Your legacy, everything you have that's materialistic, it's all the true, yeah, the true commodity, the true intangibles, the true net worth is the things that you don't see. Don't get me wrong, the houses, the cars, it's nice. I believe they're accessories to success, but and the whole when you look at the whole picture, at the end of the day, it's what impact, what did the life that you live, what impact did you make through that? And so I think that's my legacy for me, my story, my life, the people that I impacted. I want that to be my legacy. I want to be remembered for my story, where I come from, what I created, the impact that I made, and the lives that I changed, and all that. And if what people want to say about the businesses that I did and all that, and the branding and all that, that's awesome. That's cool. But at the end of the day, I believe that when we all pass away, when we're all dying in our deathbed, we're not going to say, I should have bought that Porsche. I don't think you're going to say, I should have bought that house. Man, I should have got this pair of jeans. I should have bought this iPhone. I believe that when we're on our deathbed, I believe we're all going to say basically the same thing. I should have told her that I loved her. I should have spent time with my children. I should have done this. I should have done that. And so knowing that that's what your end game is, why not do it now? Right? Why not? And the only way, this is what I realized, Jake, and I'll close with this, is when I was young, yes, I was chasing money. I was chasing money because I was broke. I didn't have anything. Money was my way out. And so I started getting older. I started realizing there was a greater commodity than money, and it was time. Time is the greatest commodity. I was like, wow, time, right? Because you can't get it back. We all have the same 24 hours a day, right? We all have time. And so I was like, time is what the greatest commodity. And then I realized that because I realized that time and money equals lifestyle. And I wanted that. I had the money, but I had a when I was working, 80 hours a week, my lifestyle sucked. I had all this money, but I couldn't even spend it. It sucked. And I go, I want time now. And so money and time equals lifestyle. And then as I got older, I realized there was a other greater commodity, and that's relationships. But what I realized is that you can't have relationships without having money and time, because money and time buy you the greatest commodity, which is relationships. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm focused right now on relationships, right? But if it wasn't for the money, if it wasn't for the time, I wouldn't be able to spend time with my children, be able to spend my mom in her last days when she was passing away, being there when I need to be there for my family and for friends, and for be able to travel when I need to travel, and just to have total freedom. None of that happens without time and money. And so that's what it is at the end game. That's my end game right now. My end game is relationships. My end game is to minister to the people through my story, my life, and the impact that I'm making right now and the impact I'm going to make. And one day, just be able to
And
get
that,
back, be able to
yeah,
get back, Jake.
and that's the reason why I asked you here today, is because this show, this podcast, this episode right here will live on long after, and that's my legacy. So I'm hoping that everything that I put out there gets to be a part of somebody's life somewhere along the way to help them. So, Carlos, I want to thank you for sharing, for taking the time out, because I know how busy you are and how hard it is to get a hold of you, but sharing your story today, from a young boy brought here through sacrifice to a man who's responsible, discipline, purpose. Your journey is proof that opportunity means nothing unless someone is willing to honor it, and if Carlos's story today out there for any of you, if it's resonated with you, don't let it end here. Take a hard look at where you're headed, who you're doing it for, and what kind of legacy you're building. And if you're ready to take your financial future seriously, reach out, ask questions, start the conversation. Opportunity is real, but action is what makes it count. Carlos, again, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it, man. You're a man that I look up to, and I want to say thank you for everything you do for me and my business as well.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into the Evans Legacy Financial Podcast. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more real conversations that move the needle in life and business. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and never stop chasing what matters.